Viewers, hit the like and the share button for us. Make sure you are subscribing. Obviously, Chelsea boys, they've signed João Felix a week ago when we were talking. That wasn't on the table, but João Felix, the deal's done. He's having his medical as we speak. He's returning for around 35 million. Conor Gallagher going in the other direction. Second time now in just over a week from a far more credible source now. The Athletic have spoke about how Man United believe that Chelsea late in the window may make a move for Jadon Sancho. And it's not really like the Athletic to speculate too much on these things. Thoughts on João Felix to begin with, and can you see Chelsea going in for Sancho?
Go on, LB.
Well, I can't. Surely they're not going for Sancho. I mean, they've already got so many wingers. They can't get. Sterling's obviously there. He doesn't look like he wants to leave because he's got 3-year contracts on 325 grand a week. So I don't think he's going to leave. So I doubt they're going to get Sancho. Well, I'd just be so shocked if they get him. The Felix thing is interesting because I still don't fully understand what position he's meant to be playing. Is he going to be playing as a sort of striker / false nine? Because if it's false nine, then I thought that was what Nkunku was meant to be doing. But then he played on the left against City, and I think he particularly had a great game. So, yeah, again, like everything that Chelsea do these days, confused, don't really understand it. You would sort of have to wait and see what happens on the pitch just before you go, I get what's going on now. Yeah, just a strange one. Like, he's a decent player, don't get me wrong, João Felix. His obviously career's gone downhill, isn't it? Since everyone knows his career's gone downhill since he joined Atletico. Terrible move. And he's certainly a player in there. And if they can unlock the player, then how much have they signed him for, by the way?
That's what I wanted to know.
35 million, I believe, is the price that I've read.
Well, that's
7-year deal.
Right. Okay. So that's a good fee. I would say that's a good fee. And if they can get him to be playing at a decent level, like we know we can do, then he's a 70-80 million player all day long. So you're doubling your money minimum. But that's, again, football doesn't work like that. So he might come in and get worse. So. Yeah, strange one. I don't really understand where he's going to play because they've already got players that can play in that position. Does this mean they're not signing a striker? What's going on with the Osimhen deal now? I'm being told that, apparently they are in for Osimhen, but they've still not got that over the line. So, yeah, just confusion, bro. Everything that Chelsea do is just confusing, isn't it? I don't really think anyone really knows what's going on at Chelsea. You just have to sort of wait and see what happens. It's exciting. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm quite excited to watch Chelsea this year. I want to know what's going on. They've got so many players. I want to know how they're going to play. I want to know what system they're going to play. What players are going to play? What players are going to be left at home? Like Sterling wasn't even on the bench. He wasn't even in the squad for the City game. But I expect more of that. Don't be surprised if Sterling isn't the last person to release statements or be unhappy, because no doubt they'll have other players that are in the same position as him. Just confused, bro, to be honest.
What do you make, Potsy, of the statements? Because I heard Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville speaking about that last night, and they both condemned it in the sense of you've got teammates and you don't want to take the focus away. They both said it was wrong. But Gary Neville alluded to the fact that he's not the only one who's been making comments, and he's getting the feeling that a lot of players at the club, the Chalobahs of this world, the Conor Gallaghers, now Raheem Sterling, feel as though they're being really mistreated. Do you think there's a point made from these players, or is it just a case of you've been underperforming, you've now been dropped, and it's sour grapes?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that Jamie Carragher kind of said, I don't think he's doing that. I kind of agreed with both of them. I think he's definitely looking out for himself, but I think he's definitely looking out and saying, look, I'm getting screwed over here, but look at these two lads that are as well. I thought it was really, really poignant what Gary Neville said last night about how it would have been absolutely gutting for Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, two players that have come through the youth academy, to get told, yeah, off you go, pack your bag, see you later. Now, there's nothing wrong with selling players. Nothing wrong with that. It's how you treat them. And the way they've been treated is absolutely disgraceful, in my opinion. It's absolute disgrace. And the club are a disgrace, man. They're absolutely awful. I mean, I don't like him anyway. Of course I don't. I'm an Arsenal fan, right? But the way they're run is absolutely abysmal. 47 players. And it's an absolute mess. And do you know what's mad, Terry? 1.5 billion spent or whatever the hell it is. And they still need a goalkeeper. And they still need a striker. And they still need a winger that's decent. And they still need a left-sided winger. They still need a midfielder that's creative. What the hell is going on here, man? Honestly, I look at that Chelsea side and I think, I don't rate the goalkeeper. I don't rate the centre-back pairing. There's no balance in the midfield. It's actually laughable. There's no centre-forward. And there's a winger they've got from Shakhtar Donetsk that, let's be real, Where is he? What's he doing now with him? If they're going to be buying wingers and they're going to be buying strikers. So João Felix, I don't really mind him coming in because actually I don't think he's a bad player. I don't particularly think he's great. I mean, I looked at his stats. He got 15 goals for Atletico Madrid in his first year. Since then, he's not hit double figures once in the following 6 after that. So for me, I don't think he's going to take Chelsea to a new level. I think if they got Osimhen, we could have a conversation. But Chelsea still need players and they've spent all that money. But in terms of the statement, I think Raheem Sterling is saying, look, this is how we're being treated. He's pointing the fingers at Conor Gallagher and Trevor Chalobah. And I think the statement, to be fair, as much as it doesn't look great, I think personally, there's a definite message there, which is this ain't really a happy place. I think it's a toxic football club. I really do. I think it's a poison chalice. And long may it continue, man. Long may it continue.
I think there's validity in that, in the sense of, I remember football fans sometimes have to not look at these things subjectively. So when Enzo Maresca came out and said, I think it's best, and I'm paraphrasing his words, but I think it's best that Ben Chilwell finds, he's not going to play here. It's best he finds a better club if he wants game time. I saw some Chelsea fans who don't like Chilwell say, finally, a manager with a backbone. Then you see the fans who think Chilwell's their best left back. This is toxic. This is disgusting. I can't believe he's spoken about our player publicly. And I always feel like the truth is somewhere in the middle, because when people are subjective, they're often polarized in their thinking because they're going by their own emotion. But I think you have to look at the overarching situation, the size of the squad. Some of it is players that we know aren't going to play for them. They're there to be flipped. But the size of the squad is crazy. The size of you sent this through earlier, and I couldn't believe this. If you add up all the player contracts at all of our clubs at the moment, if you add up the length of time,
it's the best.
Chelsea have players on 191 years worth of contracts. You know, Spurs is 197. Man United, you can see there is at 82 years, but 191 years of contracts. And I thought something else Gary Neville said was really interesting. Gary Neville does own a football club. So he has an understanding, not just as a player, but as a club owner. And he said he understands some of the contract length and amortization and everything else. But he said wholeheartedly, Clearlake believe this strategy is going to yield results on the football pitch. And the one thing LB has said a lot that I think's fair, and even if you love Chelsea, even if you believe in this plan, objectively speaking, with an open mind, they are doing it in a way that no other football club in the history of football has ever tried, let alone not been successful with, has never tried. So this is quite literally the definition of trying to reinvent the wheel. And I think what Chelsea fans shouldn't ignore doesn't mean what Sterling's done is right, but I think you can't ignore the problems. I didn't like Ronaldo doing the interview with Piers Morgan. I thought that was unprofessional. And this is where Man United fans had arguments. It doesn't mean some of the things he said are not true, just because he shouldn't have done it, if that makes sense. And it's you know, I sometimes look at these scenarios and it's a case of you can't just ignore the subject matter because you don't like how the information has come out. And I've been very consistent with that, you know. City are going through it. You can't just ignore the leaked emails because they were leaked. Well, they've been obtained illegally. Yes, but we can't ignore the subject matter now just because they were leaked in a particular way. It's been looked into, and if they're innocent, they're innocent. If they're not, they're not. And I think all these scenarios have a similar theme in the sense of, yes, Sterling shouldn't have done the statement, but look at what he's saying. And as a responsible Chelsea fan, you should be looking into it, because surely you don't want there to be toxicity at your club. You know, Man United had an accusation against them about a week and a half ago about, have we got a dodgy deal with the Premier League? Because we were given much bigger leeway when it came to COVID losses. Man United released a statement very, very quickly to a few media outlets and just said, well, we asked for it, we were granted it. And we were granted it because we have to be completely transparent with all of our financials, because we're on the New York Stock Exchange. We can't hide anything. Because we have to show that transparency, we were given bigger leeway. Other football clubs have asked a bit bigger leeway, but haven't wanted to open their books for the Premier League to review it. Therefore, Man United were granted a yes. So if everyone else wants bigger yeses, the point I'm making is transparency is the way forward, always in these circumstances. And that's the problem here with Chelsea. There are players that are fuming because they believe they're being treated badly. Just because you don't like that player doesn't mean that behavior is right, because eventually that behavior could seep into players you think your club needs. But by then it might be too late. So I just think Chelsea fans have got to stop living in their feelings and look at this holistically, objectively, and go, I'm happy with some things the club's doing, but there are other elements here that smell a little bit off to me. And what Sterling did was wrong. But I think there are problems internally at the club.
Terry, I only think the timing of what Sterling did was wrong. If you actually read the statement,
yeah,
what has he said in that statement that is bad? I don't think he's any. I've read the statement 2-3 times. I've read it. I don't think the guy said anything bad. He's saying that he come back to training early. He said that he's got a 3-year contract. He said that he has a good relationship with the manager and he's open to it, and that he's going to keep fighting and he wants to be part of the squad and he wants to play. He's not said anything bad. He's not cussed the owners. He's not cussed the fans. He's not cussed the manager. He's not done anything like that. The only thing that he did wrong really was the timing of the statement. You know, at the end of the day, right, Chelsea want rid of Sterling. Why do they want rid of him? Well, probably because Maresca don't rate him and the guy's on £325,000 a week, right? But the fact is, he signed the contract. He has no obligation to leave. If he doesn't want to leave, you can't force him out the football club unless you tear up his contract, in which case you've got to pay him the wages anyway. Sterling is letting the club know, I've got a 3-year contract. I don't think Sterling's going anywhere. I really don't. I think that's what the statement was for. I think the wording of the statement was very interesting. The fact he said very early on, I have a 3-year contract, yeah, or Raheem has a 3-year contract. That is basically him or his representatives telling the football club, I ain't going anywhere, mate. I've got 3 years left on the deal, 325 grand a week. Don't think you're getting rid of me. Why? Because no one else is giving him 325 grand a week, lads. Nobody. Yeah, because his career's gone down the Swanee. So there's no chance. For me, like, the only thing that was wrong with it was the timing. But again, you know, when you have an 80-man squad, you spend £1.5 billion on your squad, this is going to happen. You're going to create issues. And don't be surprised if this isn't the first person to do it. There'll be more, in my opinion, that this happens to.
Jimmy here says, United fans, get McTominay and Maguire out. Also, United fans, absolute disgrace how Chelsea are treating their players. Disgusting. Well, again, this is where you've got to look at the nuance of it. If these players were coming out and going, basically saying, since Ineos have arrived, we have been treated like shit, I'd have a problem with it. Just because the outcome of the behavior maybe is what I want, doesn't mean I want that behavior that way. I believe in the slippery slope theory when it comes to this. I won't ever, generally in life, whether it's political, sporting, personal, I will never advocate for the poor treatment of somebody just to remove them from my life. Does that make sense? If I'm at work, I'm not going to plant money from the till on someone just to get them sacked. Even if they deserve to be sacked, I'm not going to stoop to that level myself, as an example. So I want McTominay and Maguire gone and improvements purchased. But I don't want them to be treated like crap in the process, because that sets a precedent. And at some point, that behavior is going to impact somebody that I do like. Equally, the players don't like it. And I've condemned Man United for this in the past, Jimmy. There was a time where United hierarchy, they've done it twice with goalkeepers. Years back, Woodward promised Romero that we would find him a new football club. We didn't. And then he wasn't involved in the squad. And he had lots of friends in the dressing room that were fuming that one of their friends, a very good professional guy, was left without any game time all season. A few years later, Dean Henderson was promised an opportunity to be the number one. So essentially, you're going to start the season as number one over De Gea, and we're going to give you an opportunity to prove yourself. He never got the chance. Other players in the team thought that was wrong. You made a promise to a player, you haven't followed through with it. These things, as a Man United fan, are called out. Now, I wasn't bothered about either goalkeeper staying or going. I was actually quite happy when we sold them. Doesn't mean I'm happy with their treatment. This is exactly the same scenario. This is about, I don't believe in this by all means necessary, get rid of players. That's going to create a toxic atmosphere. That will leave other players in your squad going, could I be treated that way one day? That will have players that want to come into your club thinking, could I be treated that way at some point? You've got to do it with dignity and respect. How Trevor Chalobah has been treated, I think, is disrespectful, in my humble opinion. Considering, I know they want to get rid of him, but you can do it with dignity. And I don't believe they have. And the Chelsea players have spoken out about it. Now, if Scott McTominay and Maguire come out and say I've not been treated with dignity, I will condemn it. But what I can't do is condemn things where there is no credible information to state that bad behaviors and habits are going on. So we can't treat the circumstances the same without there being evidence that the circumstances are indeed the same. So I get your challenge, but I don't think it holds water, my friend. But thank you for the super chat. It means a great deal.